Okay, so you guys, I'm wondering, have we learned anything from these last 3 years? So on this video that I posted a day ago, that was on the 26th of July, and on my MK Hunt Satanic Sky, I was talking about D-Day, and I was mentioning how on the 27th, I'll give these guys till the 27th to show some true colors because they always wait for 2 days to do something. And I thought that what they were showing was a little bit of a ritual. These were those planes that were flying on the West Coast and kind of in the Texas area. And I showed what the 27th was, which is that. So here we are today on the 27th. And I got a call today from a friend asking if I had seen the whole thing about the meat allergies that they're talking about. And again, today is the 27th. So it's funny. I see two kind of stories going on. I see mysterious meat allergy passed by ticks may affect hundreds of thousands in US. The CDC estimates. Oh, so we've got the experts again helping to warn us. And again, it's about a lone star tick. If that doesn't give you a little heads up that this is an FF, a friendly frog, just look at the word star, and that should be a dead giveaway that there's something suspicious about this story. So like I said, there's two stories going on here. So lone star tick can transmit a sugar called alpha-gal in their saliva that gives people an allergy to meat. And it says Ken McCulloch died in an emergency room on August 12th, 2021. So they're just now writing the story 6 hours ago. So Ken here apparently flatlined on the table and was revived and brought to back. And it was due to heparin that he had taken or something like that. This story is a little confusing. But then it goes down to the fact that he was bit on the forehead by a tick. And notice how his shirt has a white rabbit on it. Remember, it's the year of the rabbit. That's really weird how it just threw in some food there, like cucumbers, but it believes he got alpha-gal allergy from a tick bite on his forehead in 2018. It took 4 years for the doctors to diagnose it, and somehow they're connecting it with he got this tick bite on his forehead, and 4 hours later, he had some allergic reaction to some meat, I guess. And it's interesting how the reactions can include hives, shortness of breath, or even life-threatening anaphylaxis. Where have we seen that before? But it's from people with alpha-gal allergy because the tick, I guess, has some kind of glyco something on their saliva. They become ill for 6 hours or 4 to 6 hours and have after having red meat. I don't know how they're connecting the tick on his forehead to him eating meat, and then years later, he has anaphylaxis. It's just kind of a crazy story. I think AI must have written it. Okay, oh my God. So when these ticks bite someone, the alpha-gal passes through the skin, which has its own immune sentries waiting to pounce on foreign invaders. So they're going with that one. So isn't it interesting as an adult, you've never been supposedly like allergic to meat or dairy products, but all of a sudden you are. And isn't this interesting how this story comes out when all the bio meat becomes available? So quickly here, we're going to look at the word tick. And there's one interesting thing I found. Here's one more. And just one more. There's your RIP. So all of a sudden there's a huge big tick, scared threat, FF, and meat allergy caused by tick spit. That was 2 hours ago. More Americans facing possible life-threatening red meat allergy after spike in tick-borne illness. There's 54 minutes ago. Here's your doctors often miss symptoms of meat allergy linked to Lone Star ticks. Wow. Okay, so these guys had a little talk with a Dr. Celine Gounder. This is on CBS Mornings, and look at that. Look at that tick. So seriously, this tick isn't holding on to anything. So I looked at this as tick, or what's it, planking tick? Planking, just like planking that people do. And here's just a few of my anagrams. It's IT King Panic and IT Panicking and King Tick Plan, because, and this is what I want to show you. So these guys are getting ready to interview Dr. Celine Gounder, what to look for and how to protect yourself. And look at her body language. Totally closed off. Chin down, legs crossed, arms crossed. This guy's not looking. This guy's got his eyes closed. And God knows what that little gold thing is on that table. Almost looks like a gold joker or some kind of cross face. It's weird. So this is Dr. Gounder when she starts the conversation, totally eyes closed, arms crossed. So looking at the anagrams for her name, Dr. Celine Gounder is Cud, Grin, or Needle, because I'm thinking Cud because of the meat. Doc, Rig, Needle, Urn, like what they're going to put our ashes in after we do everything they say. And this is my favorite, the UN Grid, Co, Needle. And co is with joint, together, joint, jointly coexist, in or to the same degree, coexistent and associated with an action with another, kind of like a partnership there. So they're working together. The UN grid and the needle are working together. So she was asked during this interview if the recommended solutions, because they always come up with a solution to the problem. And I would go for the wearing long sleeves and pants, but it says use Deet and treat clothes with permethrin is what their suggestions were. And she agreed the cost benefit for sure, like the cost of the drugs or the poisons on you outweigh the benefits, or the benefits outweigh the potential costs. And here's one story also. Up to 450,000 in the U.S. have red meat allergies due to alpha-gal syndrome spread by ticks, said the CDC. Do we trust them again, the CDC? And I thought this was funny because this is by Alexander Tin. Remember, I've talked about the Tin Man and Tin being AI. But anyhow, there's your July 27th because they've got to do something on the 27th. So I looked closer into Deet because they're telling us to use it. And I don't know about you, but after the last 3 years of what they've told people to do, I'm a little suspicious and leery of them for some reason. And that's why I showed the little pup in the beginning, because here we come being fearful, and look what happened. And we come out of it confused and dazed. So looking at their solutions, Deet, just looking at the letters, the gematria, Deet is associated with Mark, hate, WEF, like World Economic Forum, which is few if you look at the anagram for that, and LSD, which is like MK. They also in Vietnam refer to Deet as Bug Juice, the Beast System, Divine Genetics, and Mr. Beast, and those have a lot of the same numerology. And Troy. And even this doctor, he states, it's very atypical as food allergies go, says Dr. Stanley Feynman, president of the American College of Allergy, Asthma, and Immunology. Most food allergies occur very quickly, and it's also a bit unusual to see adults develop a food allergy. So do you think that maybe it's something that's being injected into the meat that maybe they're not telling anyone, like the needle crafting of all the cattle and even deer and farm animals that people are consuming? And I just thought it was a little interesting because the word Charlottesville came up, and I always kind of, what was that, Charlotte's Web, when the spider was trying to alert people to what a great pig it was, and she always wrote stuff like that's some pig or terrific or whatever, but pig is sow, and sow is the OWS for Operation Warp Speed, which kind of goes into getting people to take injections and stuff like that. So anyhow, here's a new weapon. So this was an article June 20th, 2012. There's a new weapon in the war on meat, a tiny tick whose bite might be spreading meat allergies up the East Coast. So for some reason, we're just now kind of hearing it, but they did talk about this in 2012. So, I mean, seriously, why suddenly 2 hours ago, 54 minutes ago, 3 hours ago, are they going for the meat and tick and allergy stuff? And they're telling you to use Deet and permethrin. And let me just show you real quickly a couple things about those. Oh, and this doctor talking about, she called it's babesiosis is what she mentioned, but it's also that alpha-gal syndrome, they call it AGS, which if you flip those words around, it's gas, but it's also death, clone, God gene, AIM bad man, angel DNA, and star. There's your Lone Star tick. Oh yeah, and when I looked at the anagram for Lone Star tick, it's tech contrails. Just looking at this one thing, tech, information technology. And here's some pictures of a tick, and the Lone Star tick. But it's interesting. I see the word American in there, but it looks like a crab. But this doctor mentions that these tick bites can lead to kidney failure, lung failure, and low platelet counts. What have we seen in the last 3 years, too? So here's a study that I found. I'll leave you the link. Association of, I don't even want to say that, diethyl M toluamide. I don't know, but it's DEET is its abbreviation, with hyperuricemia among adult participants. Now I'm going to interrupt myself real quick here. So the DEET day, playing on the D day from Operation Warp Speed that General Perna talked about. When I looked at the gematria for DEET day, and look what I came up with, the 10 abominate meat, which is 519, and 10 is AI, and abominate means to detest or loathe, hate. So AI detests meat. So AI hates meat, or meta. And the anagram for that too can be meant to be in a team, or meant to be in a meta or meat. So meant to be in a meat. Like needle crafted into a meat? Who knows? Anyhow, I'll go back to the study. So this is a study that they did to kind of see what DEET does to people, the toxic effects. And this says, DEET is a widely used active ingredient in insect repellents, and its effects on human health have been a matter of debate. This study aims to investigate the relationship between DEET exposure and hyperuricemia in the adult population. And look, they show methods and materials too, which is really interesting because they don't do that in a lot of the little SARS studies that they've had the last couple years. So basically, these side effects of using too much DEET can give you symptoms with a high uric acid content, which affects your kidneys. And it's with gout, a patient will complain of red hot swollen joints. You have nauseous and vomiting, colicky pain, kidney stones, but it basically creates too much uric acid in your blood. And that's what these results of us 8,708 participants had. And the conclusion, higher DCBA concentrations were found to have a positive association with the prevalence of hyperuricemia in the general adult population. So I'll leave you the link to this study about the relationship between DEET exposure and its impact on human health, which they are not telling you. They're actually trying to get you to use DEET. Jumping down the conclusion, our study contributes to the expanding body of evidence regarding the potential health impacts of DEET exposure and enhances our understanding of the relationship between DCBA levels, SUA, and hyperuricemia. Specifically, we have discovered a significant correlation between DCBA exposure and SUA levels in the general adult population. Furthermore, our findings indicate a positive association between higher DCBA levels and the prevalence of hyperuricemia. It's important to note that further studies need to be done. So the work was supported by Science and Technology Talent Support Program of Shani, whatever, Provincial Hospital, and I'll leave you this link. And these people have no known competing financial interests or personal relationships that could have appeared to influence the work reported in this paper. And this study also mentions how DEET is really affecting the aquatic environments. I can leave you this study as well. That's correlated information on DEET aquatic environments. It just suggests that there's a risk to aquatic biota. Observed environmental concentrations. Oh, it says it's minimal. However, the information available was not sufficient to conduct a full risk assessment due to data deficiencies in source characterizations, transport mechanisms, whatever. So they didn't have enough, actually didn't have enough information to make that comment above. But they're basically finding DEET in the aquatic environments around the world. So why do we need to put this in our water? What is it about the water? They continue to want to contaminate. And another thing they want you to do is to treat your clothes with permethrin. Here's a 2014 study. Acute permethrin neurotoxicity, variable presentations, high index of suspicion, and in a nutshell here, and I'll leave you the link, but there were 3 sisters and they had given their little dog a bath, and I guess they spilled this stuff on them and their dog. This first patient here, she's a 5-year-old, previously healthy female. She had to go to the emergency room, and guess what? Let's see. So she continued to be comatose with no response for, I think it was, how many days? Well, she had significant respiratory depression and altered mental status, vomiting. Anyhow, she was comatose for over 8 days. Patient number 2, who was a 6-year-old, she had to remain mechanically ventilated for 12 days because she was also comatose. And their 8-year-old sibling, talking about my dogs here, the 8-year-old sibling had problems also, but she wasn't comatose, but she was still central nervous system effects. And their puppy, who had it on them, unfortunately was reported to have died from the exposure. And also cats have a really hard time with this, so don't put it on or near your cat. Like if you have it in your clothes, don't let your cat go on your clothing. So in some studies reviewed, they have 73% of the cases had gastrointestinal tract signs and symptoms, and 29% had pulmonary abnormalities and pulmonary edema, central nervous system involvement, and 33% of the cases included confusion, coma, and seizures. And this doctor is trying to tell us that the problems are the ticks. So in my video a couple days ago when I was mentioning, was it General Perna talking about D-Day, the beginning of the end, and D-Day with the Operation Warp Speed. Is D-Day Deet Day? I don't know, but stop running to toxic substances for your answer, because that's not the answer. It's not. So here's my anagram for Deet Day. Dead yet? And that 2012 story, allergic to meat, Lone Star tick may make vegetarians of some. I just find it's funny because the what is it, Kate Mouse or Moise, I looked at the anagram for her name, and it's itemized chaos. I just thought that was kind of funny. Anyhow, there's a new weapon in the war on meat. Maybe we're the meat. So just remember, don't go run into any of their solutions and fall in a hole.